For decades, one name sent shivers down the spine of every wrestling fan, a supernatural force known simply as the Undertaker. But behind all the smoke, the tolling bells, and the darkness, there's a pretty incredible story of the man who brought that character to life. Just think about that for a second. Over 30 years, for 3 whole decades, Mark Callaway, as the Undertaker, was a dominant force in WWE. I mean, that kind of longevity is almost unheard of. It's a real testament to his incredible talent for evolving and keeping generations of fans completely captivated.
And look, this wasn't just about a cool entrance and spooky theatrics. The guy was an absolute beast in the ring. He racked up an amazing 17 championships during his career. That right there proves he was way more than just a gimmick. He was a top-tier performer, through and through.
Of course, you can't even say the name Undertaker without talking about WrestleMania, right? For years, the Streak was the real main event. Honestly, it was a bigger deal than any championship match. And that final record, 25-2, it's a massive cornerstone of his immortal legacy.
So we all know the Phenom, the Deadman, the Lord of Darkness. But today, we're gonna pull back that curtain and take a look at the man who made it all happen, Mark Callaway.
All right, so here's how we're gonna break it all down. First, we'll look at how this WWE legend was created. Then we're gonna meet Mark Callaway, the actual person. After that, we'll get a peek inside the financial empire he built. And finally, we'll dive into his immortal legacy and that kind of rocky road to his final ride.
Okay, let's kick things off right where it all began, with the creation of what is arguably the single greatest character in the history of wrestling, a figure who really did transcend the sport itself.
He didn't just show up as the Deadman fully formed. Before all that, Mark Callaway was trying to find his way. He started out as a guy called Texas Red, then he became this ruthless character, Mean Mark Callis, over in WCW. But in 1990, man, everything changed. He joined WWE, they gave him the Undertaker gimmick, and just 1 year later, he kicked off the most legendary winning streak in the history of the business.
And hey, it's not just us fans who feel that way. You've got respected icons like the legendary commentator Jim Ross saying things like this. I mean, coming from a guy who has literally seen it all, that's just a powerful statement about the kind of impact he had on the entire industry. Okay, so we've talked about the intimidating Phenom. Now let's get to know the real person, Mark Callaway. And trust me, the difference between the two is pretty wild. This is where the story gets really, really fascinating. This just lays it all out perfectly, doesn't it? It shows you the two sides of the coin. On one hand, you have this supernatural force feared by everyone. And on the other, a husband and a dad to 5 kids, a super skilled martial artist with a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a pretty smart real estate investor, and a huge dog lover. It's just an amazing look at the man behind the persona.
And if we dig a little deeper, we find a guy from Houston who was actually good enough to get a college basketball scholarship. Backstage in WWE, he was a total locker room leader, even started a tight-knit group of friends called the Bone Street Krew. His love for animals, well, it led him to start a whole charity for large breed dogs. Now, in the political world, he's been pretty open, donating to Donald Trump's campaign and endorsing him, but he's also said he would support his fellow wrestling icon, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, if he ever ran for president.
So when you spend 3 decades at the absolute top of an industry like WWE, well, it's safe to say it comes with some serious financial rewards. So let's take a quick look at the empire The Undertaker built for himself.
His net worth is estimated to be around a cool $17 million. And all that wealth has let him build a life of, luxury and comfort. A life that is a world away from the dark, brooding persona he had on screen. And a perfect example of this lifestyle is his current home down in Austin, Texas. It's this incredible modern mansion that has a price tag of almost $4 million. And let me tell you, this home is the complete opposite of a crypt. We're talking a state-of-the-art gourmet kitchen, total home automation, top-of-the-line security, and he's even got a 220-volt charging station for electric cars in the garage. It's a high-tech, modern sanctuary for the man who was once known as the Master of Darkness. But here's the thing. Even with a life of luxury and a career that's the stuff of legends, the ending, well, it wasn't simple at all. For a man with an immortal legacy, his final chapter was a really tough journey that, thankfully, led to an incredible redemption. After his legendary streak was broken, and after a couple of matches that weren't great, the criticism got really harsh.
This quote from Rolling Stone after his match with Roman Reigns kind of sums up how people were feeling, that this amazing legend was fading away in a sad, almost uncomfortable way.
The absolute rock bottom, though, came in 2019. It was supposed to be a dream match against Goldberg, but it turned into what he himself called a disaster. It really looked like his incredible career was going to end not with a bang, but with a whimper. So the big question was, how do you come back from that? How do you save your legacy?
Well, you come back like this. The Boneyard Match. This cinematic masterpiece against AJ Styles was just a revelation. It let him be the dominant, mythical Undertaker one last time, hiding his physical limits while playing up his amazing character. And it was a huge success, winning Match of the Year and topping all the best of lists.
That one match redeemed everything. It was the perfect farewell. It let The Undertaker and Mark Callaway finally close the book on his own terms. He saved his legacy and got to ride off with all the dignity he'd earned. Just a perfect end for a true legend.
Which brings us to one last question, doesn't it? For an icon who lived his character so completely for so long, is it even possible to fully separate the two? Where does the legend of The Undertaker end and the man, Mark Callaway, truly begin? It's a question that makes his story not just a wrestling story, but a really fascinating human story, one that we'll be talking about for generations.